So I just purchased my most expensive vintage pen lot ever off of eBay. This bundle of 9 pens cost me $180. They had no descriptions, a couple brand names, and that was it. The pictures looked like this and said, here's the pens, buy them, don't buy them, up to you. No returns, sold as is. It's a complete gamble. Do what you want. So I took the gamble on this, and now I want to run through it and see how I did. Like I said, it's 9 pens, $180 is what it cost me, so not cheap. $20 pen on average, but it's really the absolute price at $180, which is what you have to go by. So let's run through the pens and see how I did. The pictures were really not that great. It was something like, it would be like this. You know what pen this is? You know if it's worth $3 or $60? Not easy to do, but you know, if you're in the hobby, then maybe you could do okay. So here's the first one. It's a Waterman. I didn't know what model it was when I purchased it, but doing some research, I'm pretty sure it's a Hemisphere rollerball. This grip section is somewhat distinctive. Watermans I find hard to distinguish one from the other, but the clip is pretty distinctive, and this sloping stainless steel part, I believe it's a Hemisphere. So pretty nice pickup. These things sell for about maybe $50 or $60 new. The problem is they're not at all rare. So on the secondary markets, if I were to resell this, the rarity is what really dictates value, not so much the original price. So I would say this one is worth, maybe $20, give or take, but let's call it $20 for a Waterman Hemisphere. And I'm just taking some notes on the side. And here's the next pen. This is clearly a Rotring. You can see the red ring. That's a really nice distinctive feature. It's a capped rollerball. I believe the model of this one is called the Freeway. It's usually seen in blue, so it's actually more desirable in black. It's just an okay rollerball. Has a nice weight to it. Push on cap rather. It has a really bad clip. It looks like you would push here, which you can't do. You have to pull it up in this awkward way. It's a little bit nondescript, but it's a solid rollerball. I would put the value of this one at, maybe $15, $20. Call it 15. I'm going to try to be conservative as I value these. Then there's this. Clearly a Parker. You can tell that from the logo there, the arrow clip, and then just the overall shape. Clearly a Parker. This one's not a rollerball. It's a ballpoint. All stainless steel design, so it's a flighter. And I believe this one would be called the Classic. I like the silver, the stainless with gold is nice. And it's a push button, which is nice instead of being a twist. But these things sell for like maybe $15, $20 new. So I would say overall value for this one, even though it's in good condition and the refill actually writes, it's one of the only ones here with a refill, I would only put the value at $5. Next up was another Parker. I had really no idea about this one. I was guessing it was not very expensive just because it's not a very large pen and it has a sort of, Parker like grandpa type look to it, that kind of classic old Parker. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just a little bit old fashioned. And I believe this one's called the Parker Sonnet. I like that it has sort of the lines, which is cool, and it's a twist, which is not my favorite, but at least it has a refill and nice metal hardware. But again, I'm pretty sure it's the Sonnet, which means it's not very rare, even if it is a nice pen. It's more of a gifty type pen than something that has a lot of resale value. I would say this one's worth about $10. So here's another one that I was not familiar with until I got it up close, and then I saw, let's see if we can get this to zoom. It says Parker Frontier. So with these lots, none of the pens, or very rarely are the pens described. Someone's just saying like, hey, I have a bunch of Parker pens or have a bunch of rollerballs, buy it, no return, sold as is. But it's a real bonus, sorry about that, when it actually says the model. Hey, Parker Frontier, that makes it really clear what it is and what, if I were to sell it, you want to sell someone the right pen. You don't want to misdescribe it and then sell someone the wrong pen. It creates a real headache. So this is clearly a Parker Frontier flighter or stainless steel rollerball with a gold clip, really kind of classy looking. And this one is a Is it a turn or it just doesn't want to come off? Yep, it's just like hard to pull off. This is all plastic. It's a little bit disappointing, but it has some gold there. And this is not a fancy pen. I think the Frontiers don't have a huge amount of resale value, but it's a pretty cool pen. I have to research this one a little bit more. I know less about the Parkers and Watermans than I probably should, but I'll say this one is maybe $20, and you could correct me in the comments, but this is a Frontier, $20. Another Parker. Whoever I bought this from is clearly a big fan of Parker. This I knew, or I'm pretty sure, is a Parker Classic in matte black, which I think is one of their better looking pens, but it's a twist. It's in good condition, it writes, has a really smooth action, but again, it's just not a rare pen, so the resale value on this thing is gonna be really limited. By the time you like pay your fees and your shipping and you take out the time to go to the post office, it's like one of those things where I don't even know if I should have sold it in the first place. So for the Classic, I will just say $10 rather. This I knew it has a really distinctive shape. This is a Rotring Initial Rollerball. It's kind of, I would say, one of Rotring's ugliest pens they ever made. Has sort of this like weird clip. It's spring loaded, which is cool, but the spring's really weak. The clip is kind of looks like a Faber-Castell. Has these cutouts here. It actually, if you see this, has this the most interesting part of the pen. It has a data tip which turns and it reveals a little stylus. So this is back when phones and tablets and stuff used a resistive touchscreen, so you actually need to like push on it. It didn't use capacitive touch the way an iPhone or Android phone does nowadays. You actually had to like apply pressure with this sharp little stylus, and the pen had one of those built in, which is probably cool, you know, for your palm, whatever, but it's actually not so cool now. So the Initial is a nice hefty rollerball, and maybe you like the curve and the ergonomic shape, but it's really not a Rotring that has held up well from a pricing standpoint. And it has the red ring as you'd expect from a Rotring, but it's in a really not great place. Like you can't tell it's a Rotring now. It just looks like a normal pen, whereas like at least the Freeway uses the ring in a nice place. So I would say the Initial maybe is worth $20. So we'll see. This is one of those ones that I could see as being, you know, you're saying it's worth something, but then never being able to sell it. Here is the true gem of the collection, and this is why this set of pens got so expensive. This is a Rotring Newton rollerball. You might have thought it was a Rotring 600 because of the design, but when you see up here that it has that, get it to zoom, if you can see up here that it has that gloss to it, that means it's definitely a Newton as opposed to a 600. 600s are worth more generally, but the Newton is no slouch. And if you remove this, you'll see that the grip area is not knurled. With a Rotring 600, this would be knurled. With a Newton, it's smooth, and then this is glossy, matching this piece right here. They're both glossy as opposed to being matte the way you would on a 600. So Rotring Newton, black rollerball, really good condition. You could see that these little gears right here are not chewed up. So this pen is in really nice shape. So this is a really nice pen. This is kind of why this collection was selling for like over $100. So I would say this one's probably worth, conservatively, call it maybe $120. But realistically, since Rotring re-released the 600, they never released the rollerball again. So this is probably a keeper. Like you could sell it, but these things are so nice and so hard to find that you know, the Rotring Newton is probably one you want to hold on to, just because the values of these are not dropping really, and it's just it's a great pen. I think the 600 is nicer, but the Newton is definitely no slouch, and the The 600s have bad caps, so if you have good condition 600, you really don't want to use it in the rollerball. Whereas the Newton, it has this little spring thing right there, which keeps the caps on, so you don't have to worry so much about actually using a Newton. Last up, we have this pen, and this one I actually had no idea about, and it took me some time to research, but I'm pretty sure what this is a Parker 100 rollerball. It's clearly bigger than the other Parkers, clearly fancier. It's kind of like a nicer version of the Frontier, but you see it has gold, brushed gold here. It's not actual gold, but it's a gold color. This body is larger. You can see it has a nice, whatever this material is, maybe it's lacquer, whatever it is, it matches here and here, which is nice. On a cheaper pen, it would not match. Cheaper one has just black, so it matches. It has gold here with a kind of a little swoop deal. So much nicer pen. And again, this is a Parker 100, which is a discontinued rollerball line. There's also a fountain pen, which is much more desirable than the rollerball, but this is the Parker 100. And the way I could figure that out was this really distinctive cap here. It has sort of a jewel, the way Parker's used to. This one, for whatever reason, has that jewel again, and that was a pretty defining feature. And this one, this seems to be pretty rare. Again, if this was the fountain pen, it'd probably be worth over $100, maybe like probably over $200 to be honest. But in the rollerball, call it, say it's worth like a good $60. So looking at my list, I think I'm doing okay. You know, we have like 180, 200, 230, 260, and then about, I'd say, doing all the math, maybe like 280 in value here. Again, I'm not doing this to make a killing. I bought the bundle really because I wanted a Newton and I was interested in learning some more, or I have actively been interested in learning more about Parkers and Waterman pens. So there's no really better way to do it than to find some weird old ones, learn about them, and then, you know, kind of resell them if I can, or just kind of have them and enjoy them. So really expensive for a bundle, but I think it was probably worth the gamble. I'd say it's debatable, but I gave you pretty conservative values. So I would say I got my money's worth, and now it's just a matter of kind of using them or cleaning them up, using them, selling them if I want, and then just kind of enjoying some like cool old pens like this Parker 100 that are no longer made. And, you know, I just wasn't buying these in 2002, 2004 when they came out, and now I have a chance to use it. And it's aged incredibly well. So I think something like this will be a really cool pickup, would make for a really nice gift for a Parker fan. And now I have one, whereas, you know, before I bought this bundle, I'd never even heard of the Parker 100 before. So pretty good example, but also some real flops like the Rotring Initial, which is like interesting from a historical perspective, but just not a great pen and not something, you know, that anyone really has to hunt down. So there you go. My most expensive pen bundle ever. Thanks for watching.